Let's talk about DHCP. DHCP stands for the Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. And what this does is it gives out IP addresses to computers on the network. Any computer could get an IP address from a DHCP server if it's set to do so, and we'll show how to do that in a little bit. A common small office, home office, wireless network or wired network might use the network number 192.168.1.0. And it could be 192.168.2 or 192.168.0. It depends on what device you're using and how you've set up your network. The last number, the 0, denotes that this is a network. It tells you it's a network number. And each computer on the network will automatically get an IP address on this network number, .1, .2, .3, and so on. So computer 1 over here might get .1, or it could be .101. It depends on how you set the DHCP scope or range of addresses. This computer would get .102. This computer would get .103. And it's the SOHO router that hands out the DHCP addresses. In a larger network, in an enterprise network, you're going to have a server, a Windows server or another server that hands out the addresses. And it does it automatically based on the range that you select. You might select a range like 192.168.1.101, and that's our first computer, through 192.168.1.say 200. And this gives you 200 addresses, and you can hand out IP addresses to 200 computers. So again, this could be a SOHO router. It could be a Windows server in larger networks. But the whole concept here is the Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol is part of the TCP/IP suite that hands out IP addresses to client computers automatically. And we're going to show more of the client side a little bit later, and we're going to show where you go to set the client to obtain IP addresses automatically, and then how to view that information in the command prompt. All right, let's now show some DHCP in a hands-on manner within Windows. First, what we're going to do is we're going to show the IP properties dialog box for a network connection, and then we'll go into the command line and show some of the DHCP information there. So we'll start with the IP properties, and we're going to go back to our control panel. And by the way, you may have your control panel set up as category, but for the test, they do also want you to know the icons mode. More content here. And if you're ever navigating, you want to be able to do it through icons mode. So just a little tip there. But we're going to be going to the Network and Sharing Center again. But this time, we're going to go to Change Adapter Settings up here. Click on that now. And we see that we have multiple network connections. We're going to right-click on Wi-Fi and go to Properties. That brings up the Wi-Fi Properties dialog box. And then I'm going to scroll down and go to Internet Protocol version 4. That's IP version 4. And go to Properties. And that will bring up the IP version 4 properties sheet. And you can see it says obtain an IP address automatically. That's the default setting for Windows for a network connection. So it'll go out and look for a DHCP server. You could also select use the following IP address and type in your IP address, for example, 192.168.1.1 or whatever. But we do want to obtain an IP address automatically from here. So we're going to leave it as that. And now we'll go to the command prompt and we'll show how to view this DHCP server information. Open that up now. And we're going to go and type in ipconfig/all to find this info. ipconfig by itself is not enough. That's not going to give you the information you're looking for. So we have to do a space/all and press enter. And we'll scroll up here. And this is the connection I want, my wireless LAN adapter, my Wi-Fi connection. And you can see here it says DHCP enabled. And yes, we are obtaining an IP address automatically. And if we look a little bit further down, we see our IP version 4 address, and that is 10.102.82.128. That's the address that the DHCP server gave us automatically. And if we look further down here, we see the actual DHCP server, and that shows it as 1.1.1.1, which is actually a virtual IP that companies like Cisco use on their wireless access points. But generally, as we mentioned before, the DHCP server will be on the same physical IP network as your computer. And if we look here, we see the default gateway. That's 10.102.80.1, and we're on that network. We're on the same 10.102 network. It stands to reason that the DHCP server's real IP address will be something similar, like 10.102.80.2, or perhaps it's even the same device. And if you have a Soho router at home, generally the default gateway is the DHCP server, so it would be the same IP. So there's a little information about DHCP for you. We looked into Windows to show where you would configure it to obtain an IP address automatically, and then we used the ipconfig/all command to show some more of this DHCP information and your IP version 4 address. And that wraps it up for this sublesson.